Big loss for the 49ers in week 10. Have a chance to turn it around in week 11 against division rival Arizona Cardinals, and how important some of these games are in playoff chances down the stretch run for these San Francisco 49ers on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you as always. Thanks to all the everydayers out there and everyone making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the number one sports podcast network. And we appreciate you for it. Make sure you're all subscribed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And we got a very special guest, as we do on our Wednesday episodes here on Locked On 49ers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. And now let's bring on today's guest.
Nick Winkler, come on down.
Can't believe it. Wow.
Action News 8 Sports with Nick Winkler.
Wink, what's happening, my man? How are you today? I know it wasn't the outcome you were looking for against the Los Angeles Rams at Levi's Stadium in week 10, but after seeing 10 weeks of football, guys, and watching that Monday nighter, which was, depending on your angle, defensive struggle, maybe some poor offense, is definitely a grinded out game, 10-7 with the Eagles on top of the Green Bay Packers. I don't know that there's a standout team in the NFC, and if there is one, it probably is the Los Angeles Rams after 10 weeks. Do you guys disagree?
I don't disagree. And we've talked a lot about the 49ers and not being a Super Bowl contender because it doesn't feel like the 2019 team or the 2022-23 teams. But then you look at the landscape of the NFL right now, it's like somehow the 49ers do have a chance, even without making any moves at the trade deadline. So I feel like from week to week, you never know what you're going to get from any of these teams. Even a team like Carolina Panthers, who 49ers are going to eventually have to play, I watched them one week, they look great. Watch them another week, they look like what you think the Panthers are supposed to look like. So the NFL right now, especially in the NFC, is all over the place. I say just the NFC, but AFC as well. The Houston Texans look like Super Bowl champions against the 49ers. And then you watch them next week, they look bad. The Buffalo Bills, they look great one week. Next week, they're losing and they're taking a bad L. So I don't know what to think about the current landscape of the NFL.
Yeah, I think the Rams probably are the best team in the NFL right now. I mean, they've got two losses, and one's in overtime to the Niners, and the other is a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. So it's tough loss for the 49ers, but you know, it's the NFL and anything can happen, right? I mean, we take a look at what the Niners have, the remaining schedule, right? We loved it coming into the season. We're like, this is going to be a bunch of easy games. And then, like you said, the Panthers might show up. Nobody saw Indianapolis coming. Chicago's playing really well. Like, there's now some iffy games towards the end of the season that we thought were going to be cakewalks for the Niners.
Are the Rams and the Seahawks possibly the best two teams in the NFC?
So they're playing each other this week in week 11. Whoever wins that game is the best team in football. I think that's where we're at, the barometer of what's going on after 11 weeks of the NFL season, and I'll be confident saying that. And I'm really interested to see what they look like playing against. The 49ers have beaten every team in the West, too, so don't forget. If the Rams are the best team in the league, if the Seahawks are the best team in the league, Niners have beat them. If the Colts are the best team in the league, Niners got them coming up in week 16. And by the way, the Rams beat the Colts, one of the two teams to do that, and the Colts haven't beaten anybody good. 6 of the 8 Colts wins are against 3-6 Atlanta, who they barely got by in overtime last week. Made the Falcons look a lot better than the 49ers did when they played the Falcons, right? And again, that Falcons run defense is a problem. It was against the Niners. That was their best running game. It was very bad against Jonathan Taylor in that offensive line for the Indianapolis Colts and got him again in overtime. The Colts have beaten the Titans twice, the Cardinals, the Raiders, and the Dolphins. So the only good win on the entire schedule of the Colts is the week 2 1-point victory over the Denver Broncos, who are also an 8-win team. And I don't know if they are like for the two best records in the NFL, I don't think those are the two best teams in the NFL. I just don't. And I love, they went for it and they went and got Sauce Gardner. Things get real for the Colts. Niners are coming up. Seattle's coming up. Kansas City's coming up on the Colts schedule. They got two more division games against. They haven't played the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Houston Texans yet. So I think things will get real interesting, and they're going to be closer to the middle than where their record says they are. The big question becomes, Wink, and I know you have some takeaways from last week's game against the Rams, and there's a lot of things to be stinking on in that game, right? If we're going to do a wink in the stink segment. But are the 49ers, they've kind of been, up and down, and clearly they've got their own issues with all the injuries. Are they in a place where they can take advantage of the parity in the NFL right now?
I mean, there's no better time, right? Because like you said, we had to sit here and really question who the best team in the NFL was, who the best teams in the NFC are, because there's a lot of parity going on right now. There's a lot of 6-win teams. There's a lot of 5-win teams. There's a lot of teams that are right there, really close. And the 49ers, very winnable game this weekend against Arizona, not a good Cardinal team. And you do that, you're looking a whole lot better, heading into what is now looking to be maybe a tough Monday night home game against Panthers.
The good thing for the 49ers, and we'll get into the schedule here in a little bit, and Croc and I looked at the schedule, but I want to talk about playoff chances. I got a playoff simulator here, and it paints a pretty good picture for the 49ers about what they can do and how they control their own destiny. As it pertains to that Rams game, let's close the book on the Rams in week 10, and we'll talk a little bit about the Cardinals coming up here in week 11, though, Wink. What's the main takeaway for you watching the 49ers get kind of trounced against those Rams in week 10?
Yeah, I think the main takeaway has got to be that the Rams are just a better football team right now. I mean, Matthew Stafford's playing at an MVP level. They're able to run the ball at will against our defense. That's rough to watch. We've seen it, the 2 out of the last 3 weeks at least. And that's brutal. So the 49ers just need to get better. They need to get, more efficient on offense. Got to limit the turnovers. You limit turnovers, you win football games. You turn the ball over, you lose football games. So special teams has been kind of up and down, right? I mean, Morstead, again, 2 for 2 inside the 20. But it's really funny because I went and I looked. I'm like, how's he doing? I mentioned Morstead every week. He's, kicking a lot inside the 20, pretty good. His net and his average are very, very low in the NFL. They're bottom third in the NFL, both of them. Inside the 20, solid. 4th in the NFL right now. He's definitely putting them inside the 20. But then I look at around the NFL, and number 1, percentage-wise, inside the 20 is Mitch Wishnowsky. 100%. Yeah. So to me, it's like, I saw this one coming in. It hurts. Plus, his net is 3rd in the NFL. Like, he's having a great year. I know it was a cost-cutting measure by the 49ers, but it still hurts nonetheless. But real quick, you want to do a wink in the stink? This is it, man. I talked about it a few weeks ago when I was at that game in Atlanta, when we were on offense and they showed Fred Warner on the Jumbotron. Place went crazy. Offense couldn't hear. Like, come on, Jumbotron person. Know what's happening. Know what's happening in the game, because end of the first half, Niners are driving the ball down the field. There's an obvious pass interference penalty right at midfield over the middle against Juwan Jennings. They show it on the Jumbotron. Place goes nuts. You can hear it. They're booing so loud. You see Mac Jones. He's trying to listen. He can't listen. What happens? Delay a game. Now it's 1st and 15. It's like, or 2nd and 15. It's just like, come on, figure it out. This is supposed to be a home field advantage, and you're hurting your offense. It's terrible.
DeWink is on fire.
Yeah. If you're going to be undermanned, you have to control the little things, right? Delay of games and turnovers and, blown coverages and missed tackles. And that's where I'm at with the Niners in that last game. There's some business decisions almost, it looked like, for some guys coming down from the safety. And it felt like they were mentally beaten a little bit in that game. And maybe the season's starting to stack up against them at this point. Croc, do you get that feeling with the Niners where things can kind of fall apart a little bit? Because, as I mentioned, they control their own destiny. They can win 4 more games, right? Or does it start to look like it did last season with all the injuries piling up?
You talked about how the 49ers have beat all the other teams in the NFC West, and we're talking about 2 of the better teams in the NFC with the Rams and the Seahawks, and you kind of look at how the 49ers were able to win those football games. More specifically, the Rams game, it didn't feel like the 49ers were a better team, but the 49ers made better, timely plays.
Yes.
Like, I felt like Matthew Stafford still looked like he could have his way with the 49ers, still think they were running the ball and doing some good things, but when you stuff them on fourth down in a key situation and you punch the ball out when they're going to run in for a touchdown, I think it can kind of skew what the 49ers truly were in that game and moving forward. So I think we're seeing a little bit more of the 49ers' true colors, a team that could potentially be, opportunistic in moments, but are going to get consistently good plays, specifically out of the defense. I think that's where the 49ers are a little bit behind the curve when it comes to the other two good teams in the division.
Yeah, and then first week of the season was the Seahawks game.
Healthy.
Sam Darnold's first game as a Seahawk. Bosa, Fred Warner, George Kittle left the game, but he scored a touchdown early in that game too. So that was the healthiest the 49ers have been.
Pearsall was playing. Purdy was playing.
Very good.
Yeah. It was a very healthy 49er football team.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, he's looked really good since then. And I mean, they're putting up a ton of points, and it's going to be a good one. Watch them against the Rams and then try to figure out where the 49ers kind of are after that game.
It's going to be big for seeding for the West, for who the best team is in the NFL, and potentially 1 and 2 in MVP right now is Matthew Stafford and Sam Darnold. So week 11 is going to be very interesting for the rest of the division. Niners are in the division against the Cardinals. Let's talk Cardinals, and let's talk playoff chances for the San Francisco 49ers, what they have to do, what they can do, what really matters down the stretch next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and the nights come earlier, it can start to feel a little heavier, especially when life is already packed with work, family, and everything else. This season, it's so important to reach out and check in with friends, family, and even yourself. Just like checking on a teammate or reconnecting with someone you haven't seen in a while can lift your spirits. Reaching out for therapy can make a huge difference too. BetterHelp makes that first step easier by connecting you with a licensed therapist online from wherever you are. And it's you can notice that things simply like just simply talking some things through, even for a few minutes, can help clear your own head, and can help clear the head of the person you're talking to, whether it's someone very close to you, someone in your family, or maybe someone you haven't talked to in a long time. So reach out this holiday season. And this month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it simple to take that first step. And listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon, because taking that step towards support might just leave you wondering, why didn't I do this sooner? This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Doer. Talked a lot about my Doer jeans and my Doer no sweat pants. I was actually wearing my Doer no sweat pants earlier, recording the NFL Six-Pack Show. Make sure you're subscribed right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I was chilly this morning, and I was like, I want my most comfortable pants on. I went to work, and sun popped out. All of a sudden, it's really hot, so I had to take my pants off, and so I can save those for another day, because I love wearing my Doer jeans, my performance denim, and man, I really love. I've called it cheating with the no sweatpants, because they feel like sweatpants, but nobody knows how comfortable they are, because they look like normal pants. They look great and they feel awesome. And I do just about everything these days in my Doer jeans, in my Doer no sweatpants, whether it's work, hanging out, dinner, drinks, you name it. Had my jeans on last night. It's my wife's birthday, going out, and was able to come home afterwards and then watch a little Monday Night Football replay, since my TV service doesn't carry Monday Night Football these days. Anyway, so it all worked out great for me on my Monday night in my Doer jeans, and it can for you too. Check them out. Brand new store in San Francisco, Hayes Valley, and you can go feel them for yourself, get a pair for yourself, and get 15% off with our promo code in store, Locked On SF, or go check them out online, shopdoer, DUER.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. All right, gentlemen.
So, Peacock, real quick, we were talking about a couple of the losses that the Rams had and how close those games were, right? The 49ers game, ball getting punched out, really as they're trying to run into the end zone, and then a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. They lost that game. When you look at the Seahawks schedule, it's just as close. Again, 49ers on the other end of one of the losses for the opponent, where Sam Darnold gets sack stripped for a fumble inside the 10 by Nick Bosa, who the 49ers clearly, don't have anymore. But Bosa made the game-saving play. And then the other game, which I forgot about this was a loss for the Seattle Seahawks, their second loss of the season, 38-35 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where the quarterbacks threw almost 70 passes combined and only had 10 incompletions, 4 touchdowns and 1 INT by Sam Darnold. And Darnold actually had an opportunity to go down the field for a potential game-winning drive, threw an interception. So maybe attempted just a little too many passes, but nonetheless, very close games. It's not like they got dominated in any other game. So those are things it's just a little scary because they're not losing games like what you see from Buffalo, right? Or, Kansas City. You see some weird losses. Seahawks and Rams, they aren't having those weird losses. They just had a couple misfortunes twice. Aside from that, they've been pretty dominant in a lot of these games.
We haven't mentioned the Patriots either. I just want to throw them out real quick. They're playing tremendous football right now. Drake May out of his mind.
The Pats have figured it out. They're stopping the run. They're running the football well. Travion Henderson, a few weeks later than I expected. I really liked Travion Henderson coming out of the draft. And I was like, why is that not working? Why is that not happening right now for the Patriots? Busted out big time last week. And
how important is coaching?
Yeah.
I mean, last year with Rob Mayo and what that looked like for the New England Patriots, it just looked like a disaster. And you have a young quarterback. And then this year, bringing a new head coach and not sure exactly what he did, but the New England Patriots, a team that felt like they were 3 years away, flipped that switch right away and have some good stuff going. And the young quarterback looks like much improved.
They've won 7 straight there in New England.
Drake May looks awesome, and they beat the Bills. They got separation with the Bills. The Bills lost to the Dolphins last week. Speaking of the up and down teams. And the Pats are up like a couple of games on them now in the East. It's not even like they're nipping on their heels. So you got to feel good about that. And Drake May is looking like a potential star, like the way he puts the ball where he wants to. He can move around. He can do a little bit of everything. Niners are going to see Caleb Williams in week 17, which is a big one. We're going to talk about
well
again. And he's figuring it out with Ben Johnson. And that's looking like it's going well. It's starting to look like the guy we saw USC before he came into the draft. And so, and who's the best person to ask about coaching is Mac Jones, because he was in New England with the past coaching staff and he looked pretty good his rookie year. And then all of a sudden they had a defensive coordinator cosplaying as an offensive coordinator, calling plays for him, Matt Patricia, for no reason whatsoever. Things go south. And all of a sudden, now I think it's the reason why he signed that 2-year deal. He said, yeah, sure, you want a 2-year deal? Fine. I want to come play for Kyle Shanahan. I want a real offense coordinator. He's got one. And how much better does Mac Jones look right now than any time in his career with Jacksonville or the New England Patriots? So coaching, pretty darn important.
Don't forget the Patriots lost to the Raiders, too, to begin the season. It was like, the Patriots must be trash. What a terrible hire of Vrabel.
You know what? And Pete Carroll had me believing. He had that speech right before the season started where a reporter asked him, was like, what do you expect to win this year, basically? And he's like, are you kidding? I win 10 games every year. We are going to win football games, and I don't care who hears it. They go out and they beat the Patriots. Like, man, you know what? It might be, as important as coaching is, that's all they needed. They got their quarterback he trusts, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, no, this team is narbage. They have nowhere near enough talent on either side of the ball to be good. And they have problems on the offensive line right now. They got problems on the defense secondary that they haven't been able to figure out since the pre-Gruden days in Las Vegas and then Oakland. So, that team is not very good at all. But there's so few teams to be like, okay, there's 5 awful teams. Everyone else is in the middle. And then there's a few teams I think are really good. But even those teams are showing that they can lose games to those mid-tier teams in the NFL this year. So let's talk playoff chances. And we're going to play with the Athletic NFL Playoff Simulator next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Supply House at supplyhouse.com. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, Get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. You need parts fast for a project. Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Parts finder tools, 3D schematics save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. And all you got to do is join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like that priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Promo code SHNFL5. Real people, real service. And this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You could bet on the 49ers to beat those Cardinals in Week 11. You could bet on any line in Week 11 and any week of the season. All the lines all season long already up there for the NFL season. Tons of player props. Tons of draft props are going to be jumping up there. You can already bet on who's going to be the #1 pick in the NFL draft. And the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you missed the start of a game, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine those live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Just head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to bring the Athletics playoff simulator up on the screen, and we're going to play around with scenarios for the 49ers down the stretch here. And we'll talk first about the Arizona Cardinals. Wink, do you have a feeling about the way things are going to go here with the Arizona Cardinals, the Jacoby Brissett-led Arizona Cardinals, who, again, one of those teams where Niners beat them earlier on in the year. You think, maybe they could be a good team. They added some talent. Then maybe they don't look too good. And then, look, Jacoby Brissett, maybe that's what they needed. Maybe Kyler Murray just is not that guy. And then all of a sudden they get completely thumped the following week. So what do you expect to see from the Arizona Cardinals? What do you expect to see from the Niners here in Week 11?
I expect a bounce-back game from the 49ers. I think if you listen to the Seahawks after that game, they talked about, we knew what Jacoby Brissett was going to do. Like, he doesn't move around like that other guy. Like, you just rush him, and he's either going to pass or he's going to go down. So you kind of hope the 49ers can get some pressure, get a turnover. Like, let's force something. Do something on defense. Maybe special teams needs to make a play, but hopefully we can get Ricky Pearsall supposed to practice this week. It'd be a great boost to get him back. If Brock Purdy's not 100% right, Mac Jones is playing great. Keep it going. Let's get Christian McCaffrey more involved. Keep getting Brian Robinson involved, too. I feel like every time he touches the football, he's doing something great. He's moving the pile forward, and I expect a win out of the 49ers.
Croc, can we put a win down here? I'm bringing it up on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube, and we'll explain what's going on. According to the Athletics NFL playoff simulator, the 49ers have around a 78% chance to make the playoffs right now with 7 games to play. And we talked about this yesterday, Croc, that the Niners need 10 wins, 4 out of 7 games. Win 4, lose 3 the rest of the way. You control your own destiny. You're a playoff football team. But some of these games weigh a little bit more than others. Do you think we could put a win down here in Week 11 on the simulator for the 49ers against these Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, I like the 49ers and a W against the Cardinals.
I like that as well. I'm going to put a win down, and that makes it go from 78% to 89% chance to win the playoffs in the final 6 weeks of the season. I'm going to jump ahead, and I'm going to say, look, Colts have a great record. Let's say the 49ers lose that game to the Colts. It's the least important game, I think, going forward, those AFC games, right? Because the NFC games are the ones that are going to count towards that tiebreaker with, say, the Bears or any play in the teams in the division, Seahawks, Rams, maybe the Panthers are up to the challenge. And so those are really important games. I'm also going to skip ahead to the Browns and the Titans, because if you can't beat the Cleveland Browns or the Tennessee Titans in 2025, you don't belong in the playoffs.
Yes.
Right?
Good call.
So those are wins right there for me. So If you lose to the Colts, that doesn't change it goes from 89 to 82%, right? After if the 49ers beat those Cardinals. 2 wins against the Browns and the Titans, that gets you up to 92% with 3 wins, 92% chance. Here's the problem, though. If you lose to one of the Panthers or the Bears, let's say the 49ers lose to the Carolina Panthers, that drops you down again to 83%. And now you are, you won 3, you lost 2 of the next 5 games. Now you're sitting there in week 17, 2 games left to play. You got the Chicago Bears. If you lose to the Bears, suddenly that drops you all the way down to 50%. It's doing thousands of simulations live as we do this. It drops all the way down to just under 50% to 49%.
Yikes.
If you lose to the Bears, and now you got a basically win and you're in game. Still, though, with the Seattle Seahawks, most likely. You win, it's an 82% chance. If you lose that game, it's a 20% chance. So that's how crazy the swing is if you win 4 or you win 3. So the Niners either have a 9-win season and don't make the playoffs, or they have a 10-win season and it's a 60% swing. It goes from 82 over 60% swing. It goes from 82% to 20% with that difference of a game. And even if you change things up. So let's say the 49ers lose the NFC games, not counting the Seahawks in week 18, and win the AFC games. That's 48%. So you want to win the NFC games. Let's say the 49ers win all 3 NFC games before week 18 and lose to the Browns, lose to the Titans, lose to the Colts. You beat the Bears, you beat the Panthers, you beat the Cardinals. Now you're at 80%. So that's how big a difference it is to win the 3 NFC games and lose the 3 AFC games. You still have an 83% chance to get into the playoffs. If it's the other way around, it's much more difficult path. So look, if you lose some games, lose the AFC games going forward. That's how important these 4 NFC games are down the stretch, specifically the Cardinals and Panthers. But I think even more than that, Chicago Bears week 17, guys. That's the game. By the way, first place Chicago Bears right now. They're tied with the Detroit Lions for first place in the NFC or NFC North.
The thing the 49ers have going for them has been a great start to the season in conference. They're 6-2. That's the second best record in the NFC for conference wins behind the 6-1 Eagles. So that's solid. But yeah, like you said, take care of business. Beat those NFC teams and you're in the playoffs. Period.
And you know what the 49ers could do? Is if we're going to give those wins away to the AFC teams, to the Browns and the Titans, if you just go beat the Cardinals and Panthers, you're in, man. Win the next 2, you're in. You don't have to worry as much about that Bears Seahawks games in week 17, 18. You're fighting for seeding and not fighting to get in the playoffs. So that's these next 2 games are very important. Those last 2 games are extremely important as well. And the 3 games in the middle, you want to win those games against the AFC teams, but it doesn't have nearly as big of an impact on the percentages if the 49ers make the playoffs or not.
I think the tough thing for the 49ers is you'd assume that they should win a lot of those games, but when you have as many backups playing, you could just have weird football games. Where it's like, how you look at how we're losing to this Cardinals team.
Right. And like those division games too, they're just weird. Like the 49ers aren't supposed to go win on a short week with all the injuries they had against the Rams, yet they win that game. And then they get blown out the next time. Right. And you just see this a lot with the division opponents. We saw it with the Bills and the Dolphins. The division games, I usually come into the year whenever we do our predictions, I always split the division games just because you never know. They're weird. They're very familiar opponents. And those games tend to even out quite a bit. And so if that's the case, that means the 49ers might have some trouble with those division games late in the year. And that really makes you got to beat the teams you got to beat. Like you non-negotiable. You got to beat the Browns and the Titans, right? And then you got to come up with a couple more of those NFC wins. It's got to be either the Panthers and Cardinals. It's got to be the Panthers and Bears. It's got to be the Seahawks and Panthers, whatever it is. You got to win 2 of those NFC games, and you also got to beat the Browns and Titans.
And it starts this weekend. You go to Arizona, you take care of business, you beat an inferior football team, and then you start week 12. You just do 1 week at a time at this point.
That's it. But they control their own destiny, and the 49ers might be getting healthier. We might even see a little Ricky Pearsall the next time we speak after those Wednesday practices as we record this on a late Tuesday. We might see Brock Purdy out there on the football field for the San Francisco 49ers. Who knows? Maybe the practice window someday will open for Brandon Ayuk as well. And can Robert Saleh's defense look a lot better than they did against the Rams last week, which is a big one? Because if that unit is done and cooked, then it is going to be difficult for the 49ers down the stretch. But it's going to be fun because the 49ers are in this, and there's multiple paths for them to still make the playoffs, even if they're not going to be a Super Bowl team. And by the way, if you want to know about those Super Bowl odds, it's very small. It's less than 1% is what it's looking like for a lot of those. Wild card though, very good opportunity for the San Francisco 49ers. Very good opportunity. We speak to Mr. Nick Winkler next Wednesday as well on another Winky Wednesday. Wink, always a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for dropping by. And thanks to all the listeners out there making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the #1 sports podcast network in all the land. So appreciate all the listeners out there. Make sure you're subbed up, and Croc and I back tomorrow right here on 49ers.
See you.
Can't believe it.